So, look, we're going to start spoiling this. If you've not seen it yet, turn back, come back later. You've been warned. In fact, there's no way you can't say that we're not in spoilers because look at that.
We warned you.
Yeah, it's a giant, big warning. Spoilers abound. Go.
Anyway, chapter 17, The Apostate. So, like, you know how on all the Disney Plus Star Wars shows, there's that sequence where it, like, flashes red and blue lights over a bunch of droid heads and helmets and stuff. Well, this time there are, like, it still plays that, but there's, like, hammering and clanking noises going on.
Yeah, there's that main theme. They didn't use that main theme there at the beginning, which I thought was interesting.
So we get a shot of the armor in, her forge with some very, like, sandy walls. And she's like pouring some liquids into other liquids and like hammering away at things. And eventually she puts together this light blue helmet, this little sky blue helmet. And she walks out of the cave and there's like, I don't know, 20, 30 Mandalorians of like, some of whom are obviously children, some of whom are obviously adults.
Who did you think, the first impression, who did you think the helmet belonged to?
I thought it was a flashback to Din Djarin getting his first helmet. That
was the second thing I thought.
Okay.
Right? Because as you're going to get into here in a second, the boy looks kind of like a young Pedro Pascal. I thought just for a second, until I realized it didn't have holes for ears, that she was making it for Grogu, and that Grogu was going to have a little Mandalorian helmet, but it was a little too big and it didn't have, so.
Anyway, so like all these Mandalorians are like standing around. It's very ritualistic. Like they're holding flags and banners and stuff, and like banging on their chests and stuff.
Joseph Shirley was the composer, by the way.
Joseph Shirley. Yeah, that's right. So she walks down to this young kid who's the only one not wearing a helmet. He's like knee deep in some water, and like it's very cult initiation. Like she starts reciting lines and he recites them back, and like she puts the helmet on his head and says, "This is the way." And he's like, "This is the way."
I got such a problem with this cult, this sect of Mandalorians. We're going to talk about as we get along.
So right before she can say the last line, this giant fucking alligator comes out of the water and starts like eating people and thrashing
Space
around.
Alligator.
Yeah. So the Mandalorians immediately start shooting it because that's what you do when you're a Mandalorian. That doesn't work out so well. So some guys with jetpacks go up and like plant bombs on it because that's another thing you do when you're a Mandalorian. And that doesn't work out so well. So then they start using like grappling hooks and things to try to like hold it down. It just does the alligator roll in water to kill things.
Which is another thing you do when you're a Mandalorian.
Yep. It's also a thing you do when you're an alligator.
Yeah. I thought that the alligator roll was actually kind of a neat a neat detail to put in, because I remember as a kid watching episodes of Steve Irwin and him talking about how an alligator can grab onto a limb and just twist your like leg or your arm right off.
I think he would have been doing that with crocodiles, but yeah.
Well, yeah, same thing, right? Like they grab onto something and they just roll.
They're different species, but yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Anyway, so things are going really poorly. The armorer runs out there with like her hammer and her shit, and she looks like she's about to fuck something up.
Yeah, but okay, honestly, what the fuck are you gonna do with a hammer?
It's never failed her before.
Yeah.
So like she grabs this Mandalorian who is drowning, like hauls him out of there, but she gets slapped to the side and like knocked unconscious. And things are looking pretty bad for the Mandalorians when somewhere out in the sky we see a chromed out Naboo starfighter fucking dive bomb with this heroic score, and of course it's our boy Din Djarin,
which is where I discovered that it wasn't Din Djarin's initiation, which I thought was because we know from the last season, that he's going to be pursuing.
He was exiled, and he's Mandalorian no more, and blah blah blah.
Right. So I thought that this was going to be like a flashback to Mandalore or something, but then I can't remember if. I'm pretty sure Mandalore was destroyed after he was initiated, so it could have been, but it doesn't matter. I think they purposely was like, "Oh, this is the Mandalorian." Yeah. Oh, it's not. It's actually, and I think that actor that played that kid, his last name is Kimmel, and I didn't have time to check if it was actually like Jimmy Kimmel's son or not. I'm gonna look it up. Keep going.
Anyway,
now I'm really curious.
So a little bit later, we're back inside the forge. The armorer is, banging away on things, and Mando comes in and says, "Hey, what's up?" And the armorer is like, what the fuck are you doing here? You took off your helmet. You're not Mandalorian. Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, I really hate this, by the way. Like, you couldn't show an ounce of fucking gratitude because you guys were fucked. Like this monster was going to eat all of you. It ate fucking half of you anyway, right? And it's a theme that just keeps coming up in this episode with the armor, and it's really starting to annoy me. And I think it's because of my inherent atheism, where they have these crazy blind devotions to these stupid superstitions, and like here's Din Djarin fucking with the Darksaber. And she's got the gall to be like, you're not a Mandalorian. I'd be like, bitch, you're not a Mandalorian. What the fuck are you talking about?
So, number one, she's a cult leader who actually believes the shit she peddles.
I think we all tolerate her because she's a badass.
Yes.
Too.
Yeah. Number two, I don't think her particular brand of Mandalorian venerates the Darksaber the way the other
they probably don't
do.
care as much. Yeah.
But anyway, so Mando says, but actually, according to the creed, which, you taught me, being that you're the armor and all that, I can be redeemed.
Mm-hmm.
The armor is like, yeah, that's bullshit, because like the mines where you can actually do the redeeming, they all got destroyed because Mandalore got fucked up. Mando's like, then what do you call this? And he plops down this crystal on the table. He's like, that's Mandalorian writing on that, because like some travelers went down to Mandalore and got this rock and then sold it to some Jawas, and I bought it off the Jawas.
Fucking Jawas, man.
Yeah. Mando's like, all right, so if I go to Mandalore, I bathe in the living waters underneath the mines and bring back proof that I did, which, like, is he going to take a selfie?
He's going to have Grogu hold a little video camera, and he's going to like strip down in nothing but his helmet and like take a bath.
So I bring back proof. By the creed, I am redeemed and I am unexiled. And like, there's this beautiful sequence where Grogu just kind of looks at the armor with these big puppy dog eyes, and the armor just kind of looks down at him and looks back up at Mando and says, "Yeah, all right, fine, this is the way."
I feel like her demeanor of this is like, I don't want to agree that this is correct, but I guess if you can do that,
I guess you've rules lawyered me.
Yeah, because Do you get the sense that she wants him to actually be redeemed?
Not really.
I don't think so either. I think that she's like, oh, well, too bad everything's destroyed.
Okay, let me take that back, because I think she's kind of lawful neutraling this. Like, you took off your helmet, therefore you're not a Mandalorian, and I don't give a shit about you. But like, if you really want to go to all this trouble, even though Mandalore got the fuck blown out of it to go through our redemption ritual, then I guess by the letter of the law, I have to say you're a Mandalorian again.
You know what I think?
What?
I think that I think she told him about how to redeem himself, thinking that everything was destroyed, knowing that he couldn't find it. And that if she knew there was something there, like a mine that remained, I think she would have been like, there's no way to redeem yourself.
Okay. So Mando and Grogu are flying through hyperspace, and like Mando is asleep in the cockpit.
Oh, I forgot about this too.
Yeah.
Like, there's a pretty big thing here.
So Grogu is just kind of looking around hyperspace and going, ooh, pretty colors. And then he looks, and like in hyperspace, this is like giant squid that's just kind of going through hyperspace, like keeping pace with them. And then there's like a bunch of other giant squids.
Yeah.
Like, they don't interact with anything. And Grogu's just like, whoa.
Yeah, they're not squids. They're whales.
Whales. Oh, they're the
I'm
space
pretty
whales.
sure they are,
Okay.
which is going to be for those of you who live under a rock, if you're a Star Wars fan, at the end of Rebels, Ezra and
Thrawn going to hyperspace with the whales.
Yeah, which, by the way, the whole concept of hyperspace whales was really goofy at the time, but now that it's a thing, we've all accepted it, and that like this will play into Ahsoka when it ends up showing up. So I'm wondering maybe if at some point during the season, at least they talk about hyperspace whales, or maybe even give them a name, because I'm not sure they have names in Rebels.
So Grogu like pops down, like there's a connector from his little vision dome to the cockpit, and he pops down there and like kind of snuggles up into Mando's
it's so
arms.
fucking
it's
cute.
adorable.
Oh my God. I love how the sound design for Grogu, I think, is really cool and more complex than you think, because he's got his like the noises he makes when he's communicating and stuff. But like, if you've ever been around a baby before, they make noise all the time with their breathing. Like, they're constantly like making weird noises when they breathe and shit. And I don't know why. It's because they're learning how to breathe. But he sounds just like that. It's like my godson. Like, when he was a little baby, everything, like, you turn and look at something, it would have some kind of breathing noise. It just, like, everything had a breathing noise, and they do that really, really well with him.
So they come out of hyperspace and land on Nevarra. things are actually looking really nice.
Looks a lot fucking better.
There's way less lava. There's like,
I don't know how they took care of that.
Street markets and everything, like
plants.
There's
greenery,
which you've never seen on Navarro before.
Yeah.
There's even a monument to IG-11 just standing in the middle of the town square.
Yeah.
So none other than fucking High Magistrate Grief Karga comes on out.
Did you notice his cape droid?
Yes, he has 2 droids carrying his cape because it's that fucking long.
I laughed out loud when I saw that. It was like a fucking course. Also, I don't know. Did you see any of the Rocky movies?
Bits and pieces of them.
So there's a new Rocky movie coming out in a couple of days, I think. It's like the Creed 3, and I guess because I'm not huge into it. I guess the first couple of like reboot movies have been really good. And the main character is the son of Grief Karga's actors. Carl Weathers was a character in this. Yeah. And so I was watching some videos about it this week and saw some like archive footage of Carl Weathers in the Rocky movies. And the dude was fucking rips. Like, and he was, I think he was like a legit boxer too.
Yeah.
It just, I don't know. I maybe I have a thing about Carl Weathers. I just think he's great, but like him fucking droids carrying his robe and shit. And he keeps having to correct people.
Yeah.
Like
his droid says Magistrate Karga. He's like High Magistrate.
Which by the way, you know that he was like, you have to call me Magistrate. And then they did that for a couple of months, and he's like, "You know, what'd be better than that is if I were High Magistrate."
Yeah.
New rule, High Magistrate, and they just can't keep up with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he comes out and says, "Hey, Mando, how you doing?" They go back to his office, and of course, this.
I bet you're wondering what happened. Wait, does this conversation happen here?
The one you're thinking of is later.
Okay.
Because this is the scene where fucking Grogu's just using the Force to spin the chair in the background.
Oh yeah, time. And grab the M&Ms out of the bowl.
Because because he's a fucking kid. And what else are you gonna do when you have
That's
the Force?
What I would use the Force.
So he's like, all right. So you fucking Navarro's going through an industrial renaissance. There's tons of new construction. There's a shit ton of money here. I can set you up with like an estate down by the fucking hot springs, and
you will be Navarro fucking royalty.
Yes, you will never want for money. You can hang up the blaster and give the kid whatever the fuck he wants. Mando's like, actually, I can't do that. I have some things I have to do. And then, just when Grief Karga is trying to convince him otherwise, the fucking protocol droid says, Magistrate Karga. He's like, that's High Magistrate.
Yeah.
Fucking High Magistrate Karga. There are some fucking pirates in the courtyard. Yeah. You should probably go talk to them.
I love how you can almost feel the droid roll his eyes. He's like, oh, for fuck's sake.
Yeah. So they go down there, and the pirates are hassling this protocol droid, trying to get into what they think is a bar, but Grief Karga turned into a school.
Mm-hmm. Which good for him, by the way. Like, that's fucking great.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that as a political platform, Grief Karga would have all these like really progressive goals.
Yeah.
That's fucking awesome.
Public education. It's good. So the pirate leader's like, hey, Grief Karga, why don't you buy us a drink? And Karga's like, yeah, we can have a drink back at my office, but you can't have one here because, that's a school.
And that's against our rules. You can't drink at school.
Yeah. So the pirates are like, no, I think we'll have a drink here because, this is where we want to have a drink and fuck you. Mando is like, is there a problem here, High Magistrate?
Do you want me to shoot these men where they stand?
And the pirates are like, look, let's just drop the bullshit, shall we? You fucking used to pay us to fucking kill and murder people for you. Like, why are you getting all high and mighty about it now? Like, you must have gone real soft here.
Which, by the way, I love this entire scene. How Mando just leaning up against a tree.
I'm going to let him handle it until he can't handle it.
Yeah, he's
anymore.
like, I'm going to watch this fold out. If I need to whoop some ass, I'll whoop some ass.
So Grief Karga is like, you think I've gone soft, bitch? You fucking try me. And like sweeps back his robe to reveal his blaster holster. Yep. And we have this really cool Western stare down.
Yeah, which it's worth pointing out that the pirate was the one that showed his gun first.
He went for his gun first.
I thought it was really interesting that the typical trope is to show the guy's hand do a little nervous twitch. And the pirate, I think, does it, but Grief Karga doesn't. Like his hands are really still. So because he's a fucking badass. Yeah.
So the pirate goes to pull out his gun. Grief Karga fucking shoots the gun out of his hand.
Not even the dude didn't have a fucking chance to win this gunfight.
Yeah. He's like, all right, look, go fucking tell your boss, Gorian Shard, that Navarro is closed to pirate business. We don't do that here anymore. So he's like, all right, fine. And all the other pirates, because there's like 4 other pirates, when they start pulling out their guns, and Mando and Grief Karga just fucking shoot
mow
them
him right down. Yeah. Mando's like, I thought I was going to have to lean against this tree the whole fucking time.
I didn't think I'd get to shoot anyone today. Finally, the pirate leader's like, all right, fine, I'm going. Jeez. So Grief Karga is like, all right, Mando, we really need a marshal around here. Because I bet you're wondering what happened to Gina Carano. Turns out she got canceled on Twitter after bringing him off Gideon.
Yeah. So like
they had to address this in universe, right?
And they started softening the ground a little bit this previous week, where I think one of the writers that wasn't Jon Favreau, or maybe it was Jon Favreau, who was like, no, Cara Dune is still alive in the Star Wars universe, and so they kind of put everything out there a little bit early, so everyone could like learn about it and not freak out about it and everything. And I didn't hate the real reason. So
she got recruited by special forces,
right?
Which is fine because she's a badass,
right?
And that's where she should have been.
Yeah. Now the question is, did they have to say anything about it at all? Because
I think they did.
Yeah, I guess the second he said
it is possible to be a fan of the show who does not pay any attention to anything like anything the actors do outside of that show, like and if you never see Cara Dune again, you're going to be like, where the fuck's Cara Dune?
Okay, yeah, that's.
So it's like, all right, Mando, like, you'd be a hell of a lawman. Like, you want to be the sheriff of my town. Mando's like, no, like, I'm actually just passing through. See, I need a droid. In fact, points to the IG-11 statue. Yep. I need that droid.
Yep. And this is right around, I didn't want to say anything when we started because I didn't want to spoil it. Mm-hmm. But I knew the very first scene of the previously on was IG-11.
Yep, walking out and blowing himself up.
And like right then I was like, oh, they're bringing that motherfucker back. But how? Because
he blew himself up in the middle of a lava river.
And I'd always, because we had done some breakdowns of the trailers for season 3, and I'd always assumed that the statue was just a statue, like someone like carved it out of fucking marble or something.
No, but it's actually made out of the parts of IG-11 that they could scavenge,
which I find
it's a little bit distasteful.
Well, I don't think it's distasteful so much as it is a little unbelievable because the man blew himself up, and you would expect him to be vaporized.
Yeah, okay.
I don't know. Maybe he's like made out of some like weird
unobtainium.
Yeah. I didn't hate it, by the way. I was like, you know what? Because IG-11 was a really fun character in the first season, so I was like, all right. And if we can bring Quill back too, that'd be.
Mando's like, look, this is the first droid I was ever able to actually trust. Like, I need a droid for this job. This is the only one I'm taking.
He changed my whole outlook on droids.
Yes. Yeah. Grief Karga is like, all right, fine. We'll pull him down from the statue and we can try to put him together. So Mando, fixes up IG-11, turns on his power. IG-11 immediately freaks the fuck out and starts trying to kill Grogu because that was the last thing in his programming, apparently. So Mando's like pulling out his gun and like shooting him over and over again. Like this harrowing zombie-esque scene where like the torso of IG-11 is like crawling after Grogu.
It's real creepy. Yeah.
Finally, like Grief Karga's protocol droid pushes over a bust of Grief Karga to smash IG-11's head. And they're like, all right, clearly, Mando, you don't know enough about droids to actually fix this shit. So let's just get some of my people on the job.
By the way, the most fucking James Bond one-liner here. Where he knocks
that's
the bus.
Using your head.
That's using your head.
So Grief is like, don't worry about it. I know some people. We can fix IG-11 right up. So they take him down to the Anzellans, which is apparently the name of Babu Frick's race.
Yeah.
And apparently they're all just really, really good at fixing droids.
Yep.
So like
and there are like 20 of them too.
Yeah. So like their workshop is like this little hole in the wall. It's literally a hole in the wall. It's like 2 feet tall.
Yeah.
So like Mando has crawled inside and is sitting there.
Do you think, because I was like, how did he literally crawl through that like tiny little door?
And like Grief Karga is outside poking his head in.
I would have liked to have seen him doing that.
Yeah.
Because it just would have been really funny.
Yeah.
I like how Carl Weathers is like, I don't crawl through holes like that.
This fucking cape, I'm not going to get it. So then Zelens are like, all right, look.
That's why he didn't go. The droids wouldn't fit. Wouldn't fit through that.
So they're like, all right, look, we can't fix IG-11. His memory core is completely shot. And like this whole time they're speaking their weird language where it's
like baby talk.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's really
and like Carl was like, they can't fix him.
Yeah.
They need a new memory unit. And I was like, thanks, I got that.
Yeah. I had the closed captioning on, and maybe it's harder to understand without it. Or maybe that's just the bit.
Maybe. Mando's like, okay, what if I find a new memory unit? And the Anzellans are like, well, they don't make those anymore, but I guess if you manage to go digging through every trash heap in the galaxy and find, this one specific unit, yeah, we can fix it.
Sounds like a side quest is brewing.
Just then, Grogu fucking sneaks up behind the lead Anzellan and fucking squeezes him like a teddy bear. Mando's like, no, bad Grogu.
Yeah, I really thought he was going to try to eat one of them.
He probably would have.
Yeah, but they didn't go that. He just wants to cuddle with one, which prompts my favorite line of the whole fucking episode.
No squeeze.
Yeah.
No squeeze.
Yeah, no squeeze, bad baby.
So Mando starts up the hot rod and they're flying out of here. So they're in the cockpit, and this is where the voiceover from the trailers about navigating the galaxy comes in. So he's like got Grogu in his lap, and he's pointing at all the gauges, like, this is your fuel, this is your hyperspace map, and this red light starts going off. That's the proximity threat warning.
That's the oh shit screen.
Yeah. So of course the pirate leader from before comes back.
Yeah.
And he's got like 5 of his best buddies, and they're all shooting at Mando. Mm-hmm. And he leads them on a chase through the asteroid field, and
which I mentioned before, by the way. I thought that was a neat little thing. They briefly mentioned the asteroid belt because they're mining it.
Because they're mining it for resources to build Navarro.
Right. Yeah. So Grief Cargo wants to make Navarro the trade anchor for this sector, which is a really good idea.
Yeah.
Like if he can figure out the whole pirates and crime thing. Mm-hmm. So it was kind of cool that they're like, oh, see, we mentioned this earlier. It's not just that.
Yeah, we're paying it off.
Yeah.
So Mando blows up like half the pirates and is flying around through this asteroid belt. But eventually he like flies up on this gigantic ship, and it's Gorian Shard's command ship, the Pirate King Gorian Shard.
Yeah.
And Mando's like, look, I don't want any trouble with you. And Gorian Shard's like, you shot like 4 of my dudes on the planet, and then you blew up another 4 of them in space. Motherfucker, you need to fucking surrender right now or I'm going to kill you. Mando's like, actually, I don't think I do. And he presses the afterburner button. Yeah. And they disappear into hyperspace.
Yeah. Which, by the way, did that ship that the Pirate King, what did you think of the Pirate King's character design?
He reminded me of Groot, sort of.
Oh, Groot. Okay. He reminded me of Davy Jones from Pirates of the Caribbean with the tentacles and stuff. He's not, obviously that actor isn't as good as the famed actor that played Davy Jones, but it felt a little Pirates of the Caribbean to me, which I thought was really interesting. And then the ship that he's in looks a whole bunch like, I'm trying to skim this article as well to see if I can remember exactly which one, but there is an Imperial ship from Legends that has that same design with the front of it that looks like an axe head. Join us if you know, put it in the comments, and if you don't, I'll look it up while we're playing Battlefront today, and we'll talk about it.
So Mando comes into land on Kalevala, which is another planet in the Mandalore system, and he swoops down and lands at this fucking castle, this giant castle on the middle of this like windswept moor or whatever. Yeah. So he comes in, and like there's one protocol droid out there to meet him, but there's nobody else in the castle. And he fucking walks on up to the throne room, this giant fucking empty chamber. And like lounging up there on the throne is none other than fucking Bo-Katan. He's like, hey, Bo-Katan, I'm here to join you. And Bo-Katan's like, the fuck are you doing? Like, there's nothing to join. Go home. Like,
when you ruined everything.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Like, I came home without the Darksaber, and all my people just fucking fucked off to become mercenaries because that's how it works. If you don't have the Darksaber, you don't have any authority to lead the Mandalorians.
Because we don't have time to fucking get into this right now. Yeah. These are 30-minute episodes.
She's like, do you still have the Darksaber? And he's like, yeah, I do. And she's like, well, fucking wave it around and they'll do whatever you fucking tell them to do. Like, they're your army now. He's like, well, does this mean that you've given up on your dream of like taking back Mandalore? And she's like, motherfucker, your cult gave up on Mandalore decades before the Purge. Like, where the fuck were you back then?
Yeah, like, you guys are literally the Westboro Baptist Church of space.
Don't even fucking talk to me about giving up on Mandalore. Mando's like, all right, so I'm on quest. I gotta go to Mandalore and bathe in the living waters underneath the mines. And Bo-Katan fucking scoffs at him like, there's nothing fucking magical about those waters. It's just a fucking pond under some fucking mines. Like, if you really want to go there and indulge your superstitious bullshit, you're under the city of Sundari, and there's some mines and some shit. but like you can just fucking go ahead and it's your funeral because the whole planet's fucking poisoned. Mando's like, okay, I think I will go there. And Bo-Katan's like, fucking bye, Felicia. And that's the end of the episode.
Yeah. So some things that showed up in this episode that some eagle-eyed fans will have noticed. The first is where Din Djarin is going to travel. So they're talking about the healing waters of Jesus, Mandalore Jesus, or whatever, and how it's beneath the Civic Center in a city called Sundari, right? And Sundari it shows up all over the Clone Wars. So that's a lot of Clone Wars shit this week, by the way, in Star Wars, as we're about to get into with Bad Batch. That planet that you mentioned, Kalevala, is mentioned in Clone Wars a whole bunch. I don't think they actually go to it. So obviously Babu Frick and his this is an Easter egg section, by the way. I don't know if you figured this out yet, but Babu Frick obviously was in the Rise of the Skywalker, and was probably the best part of it, if I'm being entirely honest.
No, there was the John Williams cameo.
Oh, true. True. That's true. Yeah. Obviously, IG-11's return, which is in itself kind of a big Star Wars Easter egg because everyone kind of knows about IG-88 and the whole bounty hunter droid thing. They mentioned Moff Gideon's war tribunal. Yeah, which I remember a fairly recent interview with Giancarlo Esposito talking about Moff Gideon being a major player in the season. So something happens. Yeah. He probably escapes or something. Like something happens. I think we're going to be seeing him again. I
mean, when you have Giancarlo Esposito in your franchise, you want to use him as much as you can.
Right.
As much as it makes sense to.
Yeah. So obviously Cara Dune. Rip Cara. Well, not really. She's in Special Forces now.
Poochie went back to his planet.
Right. I would have thought it was really funny if they were like, yeah, she went to a planet with an atmosphere of toxic gases and refused to wear a gas mask. And she fucking died because
that would have been a little bit too on the nose.
She didn't want to be a sheep, and you know, did they say her last words were, "Oh no," just like the Nazis, and obviously
so much for the tolerant left.
Yeah. So I know Mandalorian is full of old Western, inspiration.
It's a Western show in space.
Right. There are some interesting races with the pirates. There's I see a Trandoshan, and this guy is a Nikto. And then what's the one guy that looks kind of like the monster from
you're talking about the one
Jeepers Creepers
with the tentacles on his face?
No. That's the Pirate King.
No, right. There was another.
Oh, you're talking. No, okay. So you're talking about someone else. I was talking about one of the pirates. Looks like the monster from Jeepers Creepers and Clatoonians. Yeah, and you see them, I think, for the first time in the Book of Boba Fett. There's a Mon Cal that's walking around when they get to Navarro, and you see a spark of recognition on Grogu's face because they had that episode where they went to the water planet and he ate a whole bunch of children.
All the frog.
Yeah. So Pirate King Gorian Shard he's a new character. Yeah. We've not seen him before, but Hondo Ohnaka called himself a Pirate King, a huge fan favorite character from the Clone Wars. And also if you're into Legends, like the best part of Star Wars Legends, there was a character called Talon Card, who was a smuggling king. Yep. So I think that was kind of interesting. You can tell that Grogu's connection to the Force has actually increased
because he can just fucking spin in the chair.
Yeah, and the M&Ms and everything. You can tell that like the 3 days that he hung out with Luke, he was paying attention, right? Which I think is interesting because I think isn't it what Luke said was like if he doesn't train these powers, he just loses them, right? So I don't know, maybe Mando makes him keep practicing, like a parent making their kids in band practice their flute. He's like, go practice.
It might just be that like those 3 days at Uncle Luke's Jedi camp kind of removed some of the traumatic
Trauma.
association that
Yeah.
he had with the Force. And now he's like, okay, I can do this.
Yeah.
And, you know, spinning in this chair is fun.
Yeah. Kawaki and monkey lizards, obviously. The last time, or in season 1, they weren't doing so well in Navarro. They were being cooked alive in front of their family.
Yep.
Now they have a little...
Yeah, they have a little treat.
Yeah, they have a little spot. Yeah, they're not eating them.
That we know of.
Yeah. So there's a whole host of droids. There's the white protocol droid that looks like something straight from Cloud City from Empire Strikes Back. So
also the Mandalorian cult is doing a lot better than it was, because
they're a lot.
last we saw them, it was just the armor and Paz Vizsla.
Yeah,
I think,
and they were on the run too.
Yeah, now they've got like 30 or so.
Yeah,
minus the ones that got eaten by the crocodile.
Yeah. I mentioned the Ahsoka foreshadowing. I guess these things do have a name. They're called Purgles.
Okay.
The hyperspace whales. Yeah. So is it going to be a huge thing in this season? Who knows? It might just be like a little visual nod to be like, hey, this shit's coming, so pay attention.
They might have one episode where Ahsoka shows up and says, hey, this is what I'm doing on my show.
Yeah, right. Which they do pretty often.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's do...